22-year-old electrician, Ryan Barnello, is suing 23-year-old personal trainer, Jerry Dunn, for damaging his truck during a parking lot brawl.
Order.
Yeah, this is case number 375 on the calendar in the matter of Barnello versus Dunn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Don't aggravate me. I have a bad throat today. Mr. Barnello.
Yes.
It's your claim that the defendant kicked your truck in a parking lot of a bar. He was a little drunk. Mr. Dunn says that he was, in fact, drunk, right?
Yes.
And he may have hit you, but he didn't kick your car. So let me hear it from the top. Date, time, place.
September 20th at 1 a.m. Myself and my friends were leaving the club. Jerry started elbowing one of my friends as we were leaving, and they had exchanged words. It escalated to the parking lot where they exchanged more words, and the police department broke it up.
So the police were there?
The police were there in the parking lot, yes.
Had you known him before?
No, I've never met him or seen him before.
All right.
And we were leaving. I was leaving in my truck by myself. My friends were walking along my truck. They were pretty angry at the time.
What do you mean they were walking along your truck?
They wouldn't get in my vehicle because they were pretty fumed because they had gotten to words with Jerry in the parking lot.
And they're walking alongside of your truck?
One of my friends was walking along the side of my truck.
Go ahead.
And I actually was parked two cars away from Jerry's vehicle and his friend, Chris, which was also the one that kicked my truck in. And we were pulling away, and I was trying to get my friend in the vehicle, and he was pretty heated. He was going to walk home, and I had the windows down. I heard them exchanging words out of their vehicle to my friend that was walking, and Jerry proceeded to get out of his truck with his friend Chris, and I got out of my vehicle to get my friend to leave, get in my truck, let's leave, We've already been warned once by the police. My friend wouldn't get in my vehicle with me, so I got back in my truck. As soon as I got back in my truck, Chris and Jerry Dunn ran up to my truck and started kicking my truck in as I was sitting in the driver's seat staring at him.
Where did he kick your truck?
He kicked my truck in the door and the extended cab of the truck. I have pictures.
Can I see the pictures, please? All right, Sheriff. Let's hear from you.
Well, we got to the nightclub approximately 10 o'clock that evening.
So you've been drinking for 3 hours?
Approximately, yes. We were leaving the nightclub, me and a friend of mine and our two girlfriends, and another friend of ours that was walking with us to our cars had a confrontation, I guess, with one of his friends. It wasn't me, okay? And after they had had words, the cops had basically came over and said, you guys stop it or whatever, because it was just words. No one had physically done anything yet. At that time, we get in our cars. I get in the back seat. We're leaving the club. We're still in the parking lot. We haven't left yet. And as we're pulling out of the parking lot, this gentleman basically cuts us off in his truck. He's leaving the parking lot and pulls right in front of our car, saying stuff to us outside of his window, still sitting inside of his truck.
He is?
Yes. His friends, like he said, were all outside. There was a bunch, the whole club was leaving at this time. So there was tons of people in the parking lot. And I guess it was, I don't know how many of his friends, 4 or 5 guys or so, were outside of the truck. At that time, the driver of the vehicle that I was in steps out of the vehicle and approaches his truck. As they are saying words to each other, I get out of the truck myself, and I'm coming around the truck, and there's tons of people at that time around both of our cars. And everyone's yelling, screaming, saying stuff to each other. At that point, everyone starts fighting. I don't know if it was him or one of his friends that I had actually gotten a physical confrontation with, but we ended up getting arrested that night. Me and the driver of the vehicle that I was in.
What were you arrested for?
Well, initially, we were being arrested, and the cop says he's pressing charges on you guys for, hitting him or whatever, hitting his friend, and...
You can't press charges for hitting his friend.
No, that's not correct.
So anyways, this is what the cop says to me.
What were you arrested for, sir?
Well, right here, he tells me it was drunk in public.
What happened with that case?
I went to jail that night, and they gave me this piece of paper, and it was basically a failure to appear for another traffic stop that I had had. They never actually arrested me for drunk in public either, or vandalizing his car or anything.
They gave you a desk appearance ticket. You were supposed to appear there on the 13th of November. What happened?
I went and appeared, and all I had to do was pay for a traffic violation that I had.
You have a police report.
I do not have a police report because I did not press charges for vandalism. And for one reason only, that of the night they both agreed in front of the officers to pay me for the damages to my vehicle. And they offered me $1,000 cash if I was to come to their house that night. And the officers said there will be no money exchanged in our presence, that this matter will have to be taken somewhere else. And so I asked the officer for any type of information of showing of the incident, and he said he could not give me anything because I didn't press charges. And the reason why I didn't press charges is because they agreed to pay me when they were in the back of the car.
Who's they?
Jerry and Chris.
Did Chris pay you?
Chris has paid me his half of the...
When did Chris pay you?
I believe about 3 weeks ago.
How much did he pay you?
He paid me $2,300.
You the girlfriend? Step up. Tell me your name.
My name's Katie.
Katie what?
Katie Rainier.
You were there that night?
Yes, I was.
Were you drunk or sober?
I was sober.
I just want you to think about the moment. This is your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the back of a police car. Do you remember that?
Yes.
How many people were in the back of the police car?
2. Him and
Who?
Chris.
Who?
Jerry and Chris.
Anybody else taken into custody that night?
No.
Now, during the time that they were in the back of the police car, Katie, did you see the plaintiff?
Yes.
Did you see the plaintiff talking to a police officer?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the police officer let your boyfriend and Chris out of the back of the car?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So they took him away?
Yes.
Did they take you away that evening, sir?
Yes.
Where did they take you?
To Sacramento County Jail.
What about Chris?
Him too, yes.
Is it your testimony that after you had a conversation with the officer let him out of the car?
No, he didn't let him out of the car.
Oh. Well, that's what I thought.
The door was
happened.
open.
Yeah.
And I was standing right by the door talking to them, and they were begging me the whole time, don't press charges, don't press charges.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, why do you think that Chris only paid half?
I have no idea.
Is it possible that it's because what he's telling me is accurate, that the two of you agreed to pay for the damage to his truck?
No.
I think so.
And later today,
Can I see a withdrawal from your bank for $240?
I don't have that. I got it from the ATM.
Well, if you got it from the ATM, you would have a record of that, sir.
Well, they give you the
Listen to
option
me.
of
You
whether
get
you
it?
can have it printed out or not printed out. And
Mr. Doherty, are you trying to dance around me, sir?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Barnello says during an argument in a nightclub parking lot, his fellow clubgoer Jerry Dunn damaged his truck. Jerry denies ever touching the vehicle.
Why don't you have a seat? Where is your friend Chris?
He is at home, actually. He's back home.
As far as you know, Chris paid him $2,300?
Yes.
Why?
Because he kicked his vehicle and I didn't.
How much was the damage to the vehicle?
The estimate, I've had two. One for $4,286 and one for $4,412.
Well, why do you think that Chris only paid half?
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
No.
Is it possible that it's because what he's telling me is accurate, that the two of you agreed to pay for the damage to his truck?
No.
No?
No.
I think so. And I think that if I were to call Chris, that's exactly what he would tell me, that he agreed to pay for half the damage and you were going to pay for half the damage to the truck. That's what I think. And since I'm the one who's in charge of thinking here, I'm entering a judgment in the amount of $2,200. That's all. Goodbye.
Lawyers are excused. You may step out.
The judgment was correct. You know, he did kick my truck in, and he's paying for it.
Next time I won't beat anybody up outside of a nightclub.
He never touched me that night, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I guess when you finish something instead of start it, you're the one who actually gets in trouble.
Manager Candace Spencer is suing the father of her child cruise line reservationist Keith Drever for unpaid rent and for unpaid charges on a cell phone. Keith says he would have paid his debts, but Candace had him thrown in jail.
Order. All rise. Please. Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 369 on the calendar in the matter of Spencer versus Drever. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge.
Ms. Spencer, Mr. Drever is your former boyfriend. You have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, he owes you for a month's rent and a phone bill, a cell phone bill, from well over a year ago. The reason you waited to sue him was because he was incarcerated for the last year based upon an incident that occurred about a year ago with you.
Yes.
Mr. Drever, according to what I read, you were on probation for something else. There was an argument. She alleged that you hit her. You were ultimately convicted of that. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for the year on that conviction or on the parole violation?
Both, Your Honor.
What had you been on parole for?
Aggravated assault, ma'am.
On her?
It was another man.
Have you learned to control your temper a little better?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good thing. Now, tell me about first the phone bill.
Back in approximately June of 2001, Keith had recently gotten out of a correctional facility after getting out of jail. It was a drug rehab program, and right around the time he got out, he started developing a relationship with our son again.
How old is your son?
He's 4. So because of his credit history, he couldn't get a home phone, so he tried to get a cell phone. He asked me, since I had a phone already in my name, would I be willing to get a secondary phone so that we could be in contact with each other in case of emergencies or what have you, since there were going to be times when our son would be with him. He agreed he'd pay the $14.99 a month plus any charges he incurred for going over the minutes. He never paid me on any of it.
Okay, so how much was his portion of the bill?
His portion total is $678.20.
Okay, let's deal with the phone first. Yes, sir.
With the cell phone, I disagree as far as the reason why I got the phone. We had discussed with her particular job, she goes on call, and she would need someone to watch my son, who was 3 at the time. And then what wound up happening is the phone turned into more like an electronic leash.
So I gather you saying that she wanted to keep tabs on you.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's one thing, but did you use the phone and go over the minutes calling other people?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, well, so who should pay for that?
I should.
Good. That's easy. Can I see the bill, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I would have paid the cell phone. I would have paid the rent. But because of the fact that I went to jail for a domestic, I did.
This is your fault. Shh. Sorry.
I did 13 and a half months sentence in prison because
You lost your temper.
I didn't strike her, Your Honor. I did not touch her. She got mad at me, she called the police, and I went to prison. Now, I got out.
Miss Spencer,
Yes, ma'am.
is that true? Did he, in fact, put his hands on you?
Yes, ma'am.
How did he put his hands on you?
He
Look
was
at me.
Yes, ma'am. He was attempting to come into the apartment. As you can see, he's slightly larger than me. He was trying to get in the apartment. I'm very stubborn. I'm not going to deny it. I was standing in the doorway trying to prevent him from coming in.
You weren't living together at the time?
Yes, we were, but we only been living together for a month. It was me, him, and his roommate.
So you'd been living together, and he was trying to get into the apartment.
To get a 12-pack of beer out of the refrigerator.
And you're blocking the door.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
I got elbowed in the eye, in which I sustained a black eye.
How did that happen?
As he's trying to push his way in,
Yeah.
his elbow got me in the eye.
So it was an accident.
I don't
So
know
it
if
was an
it's-
accident. Is what you're telling me, Miss Spencer, is that it was an accident?
No, ma'am.
He didn't hit you with his fist, did he?
No.
You were blocking the door in a place where he was a tenant. Is that
Yes.
right?
This is his second incident against a female for domestic violence. He's also got a charge against his wife.
Then I want to tell you something. You shouldn't have put yourself in that position,
I agree.
right? However, what he's telling me has a ring of truth to it. You were blocking his entrance from getting into his home. He pushed you out of the way. He didn't hit you. But as he pushed you out of the way, his elbow hit you in the eye. His elbow. You
Well,
know,
that's
he
what
didn't,
he thinks.
didn't
We're
go,
not sure
he didn't
exactly
go
how.
like this and hit you in
No,
the eye.
no, ma'am.
His elbow hit you as he was coming in, and he's saying for that he was incarcerated for 13 months.
No.
That's a long time.
Right. If you were to ask our son, who was present during this, what happened, he said he would tell people his daddy was in jail for punching mommy in the face.
But he didn't punch you in the face, Miss
Right.
Spencer.
I agree.
But he didn't punch you in the face.
Right. I also have a letter from Mr. Drever that I'd like to submit, if I may,
I'd
please.
like to see it.
He received this soon after being served for a previous.
Well, it's a nasty letter, but he spent 13 months in jail for something that really has some mitigating circumstance to it. Did you have a trial?
Well, ma'am, the way the situation worked, I had 3 days.
Did you have a trial?
No, ma'am. I had a plea bargaining hearing.
What was the plea bargain?
13.5 months, or I would
on the old case and this case.
in this case to get it cleared out. If I would have taken it to trial, and even if I would have won the trial, they were going to send me away for 7 years.
On the parole violation.
On the probation violation, correct.
Your Honor, he also has a copy of his arrest history with him. If you could look at that, you would kind of get an
I
idea.
believe, listen to me, Miss Spencer.
Yes, ma'am.
My dear, I believe that Mr. Drever has a very bad temper. Whether he has resolved his very bad temper, I don't know. But you and I both know that you precipitated this altercation that happened in September of 2001 by blocking the door. First of all, by moving back in with him.
He moved in with me.
You permitted that.
Right.
You knew his history. You permitted that. And if he was going inside to get a six-pack of beer and you decided you didn't want him to do that and you stood in his way, he's allowed to go into his home.
Well, there's an incident that precipitated that I didn't get a chance to say. I had left. We got into an argument. I had left and gone to my friend's house. When I came back, my son was dressed, sitting on top of a suitcase, and said that him and Daddy were going back to Lenny. That's his ex-girlfriend. So I was trying to keep him out of the house because I didn't know that he wasn't going to take my son and leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He owes me over $7,000 in child support.
You mean for this past year as well?
Yeah, but the state of Ohio doesn't overlook it because he was in jail. They don't care.
I care. I care.
And later today,
She said, well, I need the money. She said, because I got to pay bills and feed my children. I said, well, I don't have it right now. She said, well, you better get it.
You're a hustler.
I'm a hustler.
You're a hustler.
I'm about as much hustler.
You're a
as you
hustler.
are.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candace Spencer says the father of her child, Keith Drever, owes for rent and a cell phone bill. Keith says Candace had him falsely arrested and thrown in jail for 13 months.
Just a second. You left and left your son with him.
And a roommate. I left to give him a cooling off period.
But you left your son with him, so
Right.
clearly you were not concerned for your son's safety. You knew he was with his father and he was going to be okay. So you both cooled off for a while.
Right.
Why did you prevent him from going back into the house?
Because he had started yelling and screaming and threatening me in front of our roommate, and I was afraid that he was going to do something to me or my son, so I was trying to keep him out of the apartment. I was trying to close the door, and he was trying to get back in.
Do you see your son now, Mr. Drever?
Yes, ma'am.
How often?
As much as I can.
You have a court order of visitation?
No, ma'am.
He has a court-ordered child support that he hasn't paid. He owes me over $7,000 in child support.
Well, just a second. You mean for this past year as well?
Yeah, but the state of Ohio doesn't overlook it because he was in jail. They don't care. It's the state of Ohio
care.
child support. I agree.
I care.
Well, I understand.
Good. But you see your son.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Drever, I want you to understand this, sir. I think that what you have to do is you have to put a period with regard to this bad feeling. She lets you visit with your son, even without a court order. I think that you ought to pay her this money. Clearly you owe her the money, and the reason that you say you're not going to pay her the money is because you're angry that she had you incarcerated for 13 months.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Right? Part of that responsibility is yours. You were in that position. Had you not been on parole for a very serious case, you wouldn't have been facing 7 years in jail. Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am.
So, and nobody put you in that position except you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, it's unfortunate. But I think that you got to pay her this money for the phone. I don't think, however, that you have to pay her the money for the rent, and I'm going to tell you why. She blocked your entrance to your home. She refused to give you entry into a premises that was your home. She not entitled to any rent for that month. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff, not in the amount requested, which is $880, but $678.20, which is the amount of the phone bill. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I could be thrown in jail for doing nothing, basically, and then lose a year income and then still have to pay her money.
I'm a bigger person, and I allow him to see our son without the fact that he hasn't paid me any child support, so I'm going to get along with him as best as I can for the sake of our son.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Culp versus Deason. Step forward, please.
Jeffrey Culp and his wife Nancy are suing Nancy's daughter, 23-year-old telemarketer Christy Deason, for the cost to bail her out of jail and for an unpaid loan to get back on her feet.
Mr. and Mrs. Culp, this is your daughter. Is that right?
My stepdaughter.
And how long have you been married to her mother?
We've been married for 9 years, been together a total of 16.
And how old was Miss Deason when you came into her life?
8 years old.
Is that right? Yes. Your lawsuit says that your daughter owes you some money for bail and then some money that you loaned her to help her get back on her feet after a series of mishaps and missteps. The total of those loans is under $1,000.
That's correct.
Your daughter says that there was never an agreement to pay that money back. These were not loans. This was what family does for each other when they're in trouble. And Mr. and Mrs. Culp, I'm here to tell you that I've read your complaint, and quite simply, the complaint says she called you one night a year and a half ago from jail. She had been arrested for what?
Possession of marijuana.
And she said, please come and bail me out. You did.
That's correct.
And then later on, you loaned her money for some clothes and some startup money so that she could get on her feet. So, I have a question for you. I don't believe in going to court when you have family. Mother, child, father, child, child against parent, unless it's so much money that it really is life-altering money. $987 doesn't come under the category, to me, of life-altering money for anybody. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
This is not life-altering money. So then, you tell me why you chose to make an issue of this money, and I'm sure there have been other monies, but why you chose to make an issue of this money rather than just say, look, I'm not going to loan her any more money, I'm going to write this off. Explain that to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do take care of my son. I do not get child support.
Where's his father?
He doesn't help me.
Why doesn't he help you?
I've got an answer for that, Your Honor. He's useless.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeffrey and Nancy Culp say their daughter, Christy Deason, owes for bail money and an unpaid loan.
Go ahead.
Well, Your Honor, the money is of little consequence. There has been a history of loans made to Christy. We put her into an apartment. We paid her utilities to get her set up on her own. I spent a year with her child in my custody, living in my home. I paid all of his expenses and his medical bills. We took care of all of his clothing, his food, his shelter. And these are all things that I did because I am a grandfather.
Where was she?
She lived in South Carolina at the time. She was unable to care for him. None of that I'm asking for. This is a case of teaching her some responsibility. I don't think that I or my wife should be responsible for taking care of stupid things like going to jail and fines. We did bail her out of jail. We did move her into our home. We bought her clothing. We set her up with a job. I gave her a car, and she never started the job the first day. She went back to South Carolina and back into her old life.
Where was your grandson all this time?
He was in my custody.
Now,
when she went back to South Carolina, she did take him back with her.
How is he doing?
He's doing very well right now.
Good. With his mother?
That's correct.
Good. And what are you doing now?
I'm a telemarketer, and I wait tables in evenings.
Who takes care of your son?
The school. I got it arranged where I work on the weekends, waiting tables at night, and he goes to his grandmother's house on his father's side.
Where's his father?
He's in South Carolina as well, but he doesn't help me at all.
Well, what does he do?
He sells cars.
Why doesn't he help you?
I don't know. He's court ordered too, and he switched jobs.
I've got an answer for that, Your Honor. He's useless.
Oh. Good.
Yeah.
He's useless.
Right.
Would it be a fair statement, Mr. Culp, that your daughter seems to be putting things in order at this point?
She is. She is trying. She's maintaining a home. She maintains my grandson. She works 2 jobs.
Great. So why now have you decided to bring this lawsuit?
Because Christy and I have had this conversation over and over again throughout the past year. I have asked her to, if need be, pay $5 a week toward what she owes. You know?
And, Christy, let me hear.
I just don't have the money. I pay all my bills by myself. I do take care of my son. Like I said, I do not get child support, so I just don't have the money.
Well, let me ask you this question. Sounds to me as if your stepfather has been more like a father to you. Fair statement?
Right.
And what it sounds to me is that both your stepfather and your mother are saying they don't really care about money. They would like you to make some sort of a showing of responsibility. So even if you sent them $5 a month, which you can afford, believe me, you blow that on nonsense, right?
Right.
$5 a month, $1 a week, right?
Right.
A couple of cents a day. They would like you to say to them, by that demonstration, I'm acknowledging that I am responsible for these things, my fines, my bail, the things that I did to get myself into trouble. You have a problem with that?
Well, I think, I helped my parents out when he was in time of need. I was 16. I was going to school. I was working in the evenings after school. I would give them my check every week to help pay bills. And I figured I did this for 2 years. When I helped them, I figured that in a time
Were
of
you
need,
also living in the house?
I was.
Were you also
Your
eating?
Honor, we're talking about a 16-year-old child that worked 10 to 12 hours a week in a fast food restaurant and brought me $20 to feed her and her child.
I worked more than that.
Fine. How much money did you give them?
It was almost $200 every week. Because I worked all day on Saturday and Sundays. And then during the week, after school, I would go in at 5 and I wouldn't get out of there until 11 o'clock at night.
And who was taking care of your son?
My parents did help until my dad couldn't do it anymore and my guidance counselor decided to help me.
But they did, for a while.
Right.
Quite a while, Your Honor.
How long is quite a while?
We did this for 2 years.
Now, Miss Deason, what I'm suggesting to you is that you were found guilty and were arrested for the commission of a crime. It may have been at your time of need, but when a court says, I want you to pay this fine, they don't mean I want your parents to pay the fine. You're supposed to pay the fine to teach you a lesson. Do you understand? There's a difference. You're supposed to pay the fine so that it hurts you in the pocketbook, not so that it hurts them in the pocketbook, so that it hurts you. That's different from if the family loses a job or something and everybody has to pitch in a little bit more, or if you go have a baby when you're 15 years old so that the household needs more money so that you're helping out a little bit more and they're helping out a little bit more. That's what family does for each other. But when you commit a crime and you're ordered to pay a fine, it's supposed to hurt you. It's supposed to make you think twice about doing it again. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, in that regard, they're right. And I think that they would be happy with $5 a month, just as long as you're saying, I admit that I did something wrong, and I am going to be responsible by paying the fines for the crime that I committed. Fair?
Very fair, Your Honor.
Very good. On those terms, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $987. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This had nothing to do with the money. It was all about teaching her some responsibility for her actions.
I still don't believe I owe them.
Well, I just hope that she takes learning some responsibility,
They are my parents. They should help me.
hopefully not getting any more trouble.
I'm not going to ask for any more help.
It was a hard thing to do, but I'm glad it's over.
To be a family again.
For us to be a family.
Deli worker Glenette Kitt is suing her neighbor, Auditor Tanya Gatson, for having her falsely arrested 4 times. Tanya is countersuing, claiming Glenette vandalized her car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Shh. Your Honor, this is case number 328 on the calendar in the matter of Kitt versus Gatson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Kitt, do you have family?
Yes.
Tell me about your family. How many are in your family?
I have 6 and custody of 1 other, so that makes 7.
Is there a Mr. Kitt?
My son and my nephew.
Other than that?
No.
So you have no husband?
Right.
Miss Gatson, you want to tell me how many people are in your family?
I live alone right now. I have 3 children. My oldest is living in Atlanta with her father. My young 2 smaller children are with their grandmother. I'm in the midst of a custody hearing. Actually, I have a court date on November 22nd.
Have those children ever lived with you in the past year?
They left about exactly a year ago.
You two ladies are neighbors. Each of you has a complaint against the other, suing the other for $5,000. The complaint is really grounded in various forms of harassment. You claim, Ms. Kitt, that the defendant had you falsely arrested on 4 separate occasions, and that she has made numerous phone calls about you to Child Protective Services, alleging that the children who are in your care are out unsupervised. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gadsden says that you're making her...
Please like, subscribe channel this video for me. Likes and subscribe. Please. Video share. Please support me. Like, subscribe, please. Please like, subscribe, please. Like and follow me. Become real Judy videos. Please like, subscribe channel this video for me. Likes and subscribe, please. Video share. Please support me. Like, subscribe, please. Please like, subscribe, please. Like and follow me. Become real Judy videos. Please like, subscribe channel this video for me. Likes and subscribe, please. Video share. Please support me. Like, subscribe, please. Please like, subscribe, please. Like and follow me. Become real Judy videos.